And tonight on The Wrap, one of the most revered investigative journalists of all time, now defending claims he made that the official story on the death of Osama bin Laden was inaccurate. But the White House is pushing back twice as hard. Gulf leaders, including the King of Saudi Arabia, are snubbing the Camp David summit this week. What will this mean for our pending nuclear deal with Iran? And former HP CEO Carly Fiorina, teaching the Hillary Clinton camp a few lessons in meeting the press. We've got all that, plus potluck and yay and nay. This is the Daily Wrap, live from New York City. And welcome to the show. I'm Joe Concha, joined by Sirius XM radio host, columnist for Forbes.com, and a man once suspended for deflating footballs in his co-ed flag football league. It's true. My revived co-host, Rick Unger. Welcome back, buddy.
Back in action.
Back and feeling better.
Flu bug decided to pay a little visit to the Unger household.
I guess so. We were worried sick.
But we're ready to go.
Hopefully we did that well, and
we're
my
ready
name
to
is
go.
in it. To his right, Philly's top lawyer and America's pundit. She is Heather Hansen. And to her right, the host of Close Encounter, Lisa Janovitz, is back once again, sans glasses. Okay, lots happening tonight. Let's get right to the Daily Download. And we begin with the bombshell allegations about the Obama administration's raid to get Osama bin Laden. Pulitzer Prize winning journalist Seymour Hersh says the White House lied about the events leading up to the al-Qaeda leader's death in 2011.
Think about this. A team of SEALs, and our SEALs are the best there is, there's no question. 24, 25 guys go in to the middle of Pakistan, take out a guy with no air cover, no protection, no security, no trouble. Are you kidding me?
Hersh defending his reporting on CNN, saying he was able to extensively vet his sources. He says the Pakistani government knew where bin Laden was hiding and knew about the U.S. raid.
The deal was we weren't going to announce it. They were going to take him out. They had to kill him. That was the agreement. There's no question this was an assassination from the get-go, despite what the White House says. They had to kill him, and they had to bring him out, the body out, and then we were going to announce it. The initial plan was, the plan that everybody agreed to, it would be announced 7 to 10 days later. As the result, we did a drone hit in the Hindu Kush Mountains that separate Pakistan and Afghanistan, and my God, we took a look. There was a tall guy, and it turned out to be bin Laden. We did a DNA test, and the president was going to announce it a week later.
But Hersh says President Obama decided to go public that night and reveal what happened.
The alternative is you want to believe what I call a Lewis Carroll fairy tale, that bin Laden, who the most hunted man since 2002 in the world, decided he's going to, the one safe place to live is in a compound 40 miles from the main capital of Pakistan.
Hersh claims an informant who collected most of the $25 million reward, you remember that, turned the al-Qaeda leader over to the CIA, the intelligence community, as well as the White House today, now pushing back very hard on the claims made by Mr. Hersh.
The Obama White House is not the only one to observe that the story is riddled with inaccuracies and outright falsehoods. The former deputy director of the CIA, Mike Morrell, has said that every sentence was wrong.
How that former deputy CIA director, Michael Morrell, insists the Pakistani government did not know about the operation and was furious with the U.S. for not letting them know. What do you make of all this, Rick Unger?
Fascinating story. You know, you start from the point of view that Seymour Hersh is not somebody you simply dismiss. He's a very credible journalist.
Let's list the
oh gosh, I mean,
his
work on Vietnam, nobody came close. I mean, it goes on and on and on.
U.S. war crimes.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean,
Abu Ghraib in Iraq.
He's been, just for the New Yorker magazine, about as good as it gets. By the way, one of the curious things that somebody brought up to me was, why wasn't this piece in the New Yorker magazine? Right. But it also, I got to tell you, filled in some potential gaps for me. I always had trouble with the idea that after all these years of trying to track bin Laden, suddenly we were able to follow these couriers. That was always a little tough for me to buy. All of that said, you know, if you're going to look at the other side of it, usually if something is spun out very complicated, very conspiratorial, it's often not true. So we don't know. I will tell you this. When I hear Mike Morrell, who was running the CIA, say that not one sentence is true, That makes me suspicious of him. When you dig into this whole thing, we would have every obligation under the way that Hersh wrote it to protect the Pakistanis. And it wasn't simply a matter of paying this $25 million finder's fee to the guy who apparently came in off the street. There was a lot more in this for Pakistan, and it happened at a time when we were badly cutting off our aid to them, which we suddenly restored. This story, I can promise you, will keep going. There's a lot more to this.
I like to look at the messenger in these situations and say, okay, what is the motive? Okay, so is Seymour Hersh some sort of partisan, somebody who could benefit from this, somebody who's trying to make a name for himself? And I can't get there because he's 78 years old.
Right.
He's won Pulitzers. Yeah. He has broken news. Like, as I said, he's one of the most revered investigative journalists of all time. So he isn't lying. That I'm sure of. Is he now, granted, the source is one source,
right,
and it is anonymous.
Right.
So he is trusting that source with his reputation. If this is proven wrong, everything he's done before, I'm not saying it goes away,
right,
but it gets tainted. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on
I
this.
think he believes the story, for sure. I mean, when you saw him interviewed, you can tell he believes the story. And sometimes you believe a story because you investigate it yourself and you go that far. I have a hard time. I think the truth falls somewhere in between.
Usually
as you
does,
said, Rick,
it?
yeah, I think, but when you think about the Navy SEALs who were involved, Rob O'Neill, who's now a Fox contributor, and Matt Bissonnette, who wrote a book as well. I mean, they would have to be in on this thing and somehow lying. Right. So there's got to be a happy medium there, where it's just like the Brian Williams stuff. You know, people start to take advantage of a story, the story gets bigger, they get caught up in the story, they become the hero of the story. So I think that there's probably little pieces of both stories that are true.
It's interesting that this comes out 4 years later.
Why is this coming out now? If it is somehow the people who felt that they were betrayed in some way, they could have come out with this better for their purposes in 2012.
Well, but they weren't the ones who did it. You have to. I mean, there are.
But if they were giving any information to him,
it may have taken that long for him to pull the story together.
Well, get the story together.
Again, I can't tell you that that's what happened, but there are very reasonable explanations to why it would take this long. We don't know when he first got onto the story and all of that. If I'm betting money, I'm kind of with Heather on this. Usually the truth falls somewhere in there. It is a little weird about the part on the raid itself. The SEALs would have no way of knowing everything that preceded the actual raid.
Right.
And the actual raid could have happened exactly as we were told it did. Right. But there is disagreement there. Hersh says that there was no firefight, that there was nobody encountered them, and the SEALs do disagree with that.
I've always wondered, and people have always asked, why have we seen photographs of the body? Right. And that's a part of this story as well.
And he explains that.
Yeah, he certainly does.
Go into that a little bit more.
Well, I mean, basically, we don't know who was thrown off of the ship where bin Laden was supposedly dropped to the bottom of the sea. Also, if we were being so careful to follow Islamic law would have required that an imam be present.
Right.
And there was no imam on that ship. So, this can just be, look, in real life, inconsistencies happen.
Right.
So it could be as simple as that, or it could be something a lot more. It's a remarkably fascinating story. I will tell you that for me, parts of it just kind of rang bells and said, I always wondered about that. But that doesn't mean it's true.
The lead in this, obviously, is that Osama bin Laden was killed, and our Navy SEAls did it.
Right.
So why would you even have to put sprinkles on that sundae? I mean, it's already perfect, right?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, it is less perfect when it's just the Navy SEAls go in and do it. I think that this, though, is going to be our generation's Who Shot JFK. There's always going to be that conspiracy. People are going to do, oh, yeah. I think it already was. Even before this, I knew a lot of people who questioned, why don't we have photographs? Why didn't we see the body? Why
that's true.
And also, too, I mean, and I'm usually not the one to be the one to say this, but the whole thing does paint President Obama in a heroic light.
Exactly.
And in Hersh's
it's all America,
point of view, it's not quite such a beautiful thing.
For sure. He definitely
did. You go bowling with Oliver Stone. Will this be the next movie? Because Zero Dark 30 basically retold the non-Hersh version.
That's an interesting question. In real life, that could happen.
It could, right? Yeah. Why not? Last word, Lisa.
But yes, it does paint President Obama. This is largely how when he was running for re-election, he was the one that got bin Laden. So it was a huge story for him, for his legacy. And if it's all America, it makes it all the more better.
GM is alive, and Osama bin Laden is dead, and Seymour Hersh has a different version than we do. Okay. Coming up next, Gulf leaders are deciding to skip the Camp David summit later this week. Why? We'll tell you why. That's next on the Daily Wrap.